This year, their campaign slogan is, "No, we can't." It's pretty inspiring, huh? You know, you wake up in the morning and you hear "no," that just puts a little pep in your step.
A little presidential comedy always puts some pep in our steps.
And we wish we could see more of it. But for now, Top Line starts right now.
Hello and welcome to ABC News Washington Post Top Line. I'm Rick Klein.
And I'm Amy Walter.
Every day at noon Eastern, we're right here bringing you the latest in politics, everything you need to know before you head out the door to lunch. It's twitter.com/Rick Klein, twitter.com/Amy E. Walter. Day number 2 here on the Top Line set.
Day number 2, and I've already done a little bit better than day number 1. I have not tripped on the wiring here.
Well, the show is still young, but we'll give you a chance.
I'm waiting to break something. We'll kick us off for our very first Top Line. How about that?
Let's do it.
Very first one today, coming home. The last combat troops are leaving Iraq now. We've seen the pictures. The White House gets to focus on some good news for now about a war.
That's right, and it's also good news, oddly, for George W. Bush, the one who was the architect of this surge strategy that appears to have worked. It was interesting how this seems to have been choreographed. We saw some dramatic pictures yesterday of leaving Iraq with the last combat brigade. It does put an exclamation point on this end of the month deadline, which was met a couple of weeks earlier, but the next time there's some bad news out of Iraq, we'll have to see what the response is.
Right, and this White House knows better than to put a mission accomplished banner anywhere.
No banners anywhere.
That's right.
Next up today, losing his religion. A new poll out today from the Pew Research Center shows some dire news from the White House. Look at this number. A full 18% of respondents think that President Obama is actually a Muslim. That number is up 7 percentage points since March of 2009, since he took office. So more people think he's a Muslim, wrongly think he's a Muslim, than did at the start of the presidency. This is a mind-boggling number, and it's just got to frustrate the White House. It's done so much to combat false perceptions about the president.
Well, that's right. Although the number, it's interesting, was highest among Republicans, not surprisingly. Sure. So there's a lot of talk right now that really what it is, it says much more about how people feel about Muslims, right? And being attached with that religion being something of a negative than about anything else.
That's right.
Then we go now to the show me or not state. Robin Carnahan, Missouri Democrat, running for the United States Senate, distancing herself from Washington and the president. Just a couple days ago, she was running an ad attacking her opponent, Congressman Roy Blunt, for taking TARP funds. Today at the Missouri State Fair, which I would love to be there, by the way, sounds really fun. It's called the Ham Breakfast.
Love it.
She came out in support of extending all of President Bush's tax cuts.
Wow, yeah, and this is a Democratic candidate.
That's
We're seeing this in race after race where they go so far to distance themselves with the administration. You're taking positions that you'd more associate with a Republican. To attack Roy Blunt over the bailout is really stark and an interesting development. But you can do that when you're not in Washington. That's one of the benefits of being a Democrat, not in Washington.
That's right.
And finally today, reload. That's the advice from none other than Sarah Palin on Twitter, of course. This is her advice for Dr. Laura, who has announced that she is resigning from the show after saying the N-word quite a bit. And this is what Sarah Palin said on her Twitter account. Dr. Laura, even more powerful and effective without the shackles, so watch out, constitutional obstructionists, and be thankful for her voice, America. You don't see a lot of politicians sticking up for Dr. Laura.
No, you don't. Although now I expect to see Dr. Laura show up on Sarah Palin's channel, right, for her new reality show. Right? Will she be camping along with Kate Gosselin and her?
We can only hope.
We can. That'd be great.
We begin today in Florida, where Congressman Kendrick Meek joins us from West Palm Beach, Florida. And Congressman Meek coming straight off an event last night with President Obama. Of course, you're running for the Senate in Florida with a primary next week. Thank you for being here. And I want to start with this event yesterday because you campaigned with the president. You got corned beef sandwiches with him, although we quibble with your choice of condiments. We'll get to that in a moment. But first, I want to ask you, what do you know that other Democrats don't? Alex Sink, among others, are not appearing with President Obama. You're embracing the guy. You want to be out there as much as possible with him.
Well, the fundraiser last night was for Alex Sink and for the Democratic Party. I don't call that a separation between the president and Alex Sink. But I'm in a Democratic primary, and he is a supporter of my campaign. So is President Clinton and a number of other Democrats here in the state of Florida, and national Democrats. Wanted to grab a sandwich, and I said, well, I would love to. I recommended that we grab a sandwich, and he said, okay, well, where can we go? I said, we can go to Jerry's Famous Deli, and we ended up going there.
Though, truly, the choice of mayo on corned beef, that was your decision?
Well, you know, hey, you know, they say that's a half Jewish sandwich, but I'm a male guy. I can't help it.
All right. Well, we can't endorse, but
that's right.
I eat mayonnaise on everything, you know. So, but I did take them to Jerry's. So I think that a lot of folks are very pleased with that. Something that they enjoy every day. It's a historical land site on South Beach, and the folks that are out there that were enjoying themselves here in South Florida, they really enjoyed seeing the president. But I had an opportunity to talk to him about a number of issues that are facing Florida, and we talked about it. I talked about high-speed rail. I talked about NASA. We also talked about the potential in his speech that he mentioned that we got to get back to making things again. And in Florida, solar power can be, we can be the beacon of the world, and we can make Florida a green state, starting with our public facilities and also with some private facilities with tax credits.
I want to ask you about some of the latest polling, because at Quinnipiac University, a respected pollster is out with some new numbers. First of all, they show you pretty comfortably ahead, or opening something of a lead against Jeff Green in the Democratic primary. But more telling, or maybe more concerning for your campaign, is the three-way matchup for the fall. And take a look at these numbers. Charlie Crist is at 39%, Rubio with 32%. You're down at 16%, and we see Charlie Crist just pulling a large number of Democratic voters into his column. How do you push back against this? What can you do to make sure that it isn't Charlie Crist or Marco Rubio, but rather you, the Democrat, who wins?
Once we get out of the primary, I think we'll start seeing a new day, not only for my campaign, but give direction to Democrats. As you know, running against a billionaire is a big, big job, and he's already up to about $24 million that he's already spent in a matter of 4 months. We haven't even spent $4 million, a little bit over $4 million by the end of the primary campaign. So coming out from under that is really going to speak volumes about our race here in Florida. I do know when there's a clear choice of the contrast between the two Republicans that I'll be running against in the general election, and Florida voters get an opportunity to see who's really standing up for the middle class, who has been consistent against offshore oil drilling, who has been consistent against saying no to the privatization of Social Security.
Right.
A number of these issues will come to the surface, and the primary race is the primary race. The general will be the general, and we will have enough time and enough momentum to be able to win in a three-way race.
So just going back to President Obama for a second, you said you were in a Democratic primary,
Yes.
one important reason why you brought the president down there. You expect to bring him then back in September, October, eat those mayo corned beef sandwiches with him?
The president, when he does come back, I'm pretty sure if he's available to campaign with me, I know he will. And he's in the business of helping Democrats get elected, to be able to fight for what's right in Washington, D.C. When you look at financial reform, you look at health care reform, you look at equal pay for equal work for women, you look at historic housing reform. It is something that we've been working on for a very long time. And I know that the conservatives in this state, at least those that are running for the United States Senate, wants to see the health care proposal repealed. Well, they'll be raising taxes on small businesses. They will also be taking a drug benefit away from seniors and also taking health care away from the hard to insure. And that's going to be a tough climb, especially in Florida when we have 4,500 Floridians that are losing their insurance every day.
Congressman, I want to ask you about one thing that your primary opponent has raised. Jeff Green his campaign has been saying that you've been using your congressional vehicle for campaign travel. I want to ask you, how have you sought to not do that? Have you sought to segregate the travel? Or are they right? Have you been using the congressional funded vehicle for actual campaign events?
Absolutely not. And what's so unfortunate in this race, Mr. Green has so many questions about him, about his present actions of going to Cuba and how he treats his employees, the case that he's involved in L.A., dealing with the whole mortgage situation. He has so many issues until that he's coming up with these unfounded arguments, and the fact that he would say I'm using a congressional vehicle is just totally false. And the reason why I'm chuckling, because every day and every hour, I mean, he's throwing everything he can at this point, because after spending over $24 million and counting, he still has not been able to penetrate the voters in Florida due to the fact that he doesn't have a record, he doesn't have a vision, and he doesn't have the will and the desire to serve everyday Floridians. I'm talking about veterans, I'm talking about health care, I'm talking about putting people to work.
Yep.
All right, Congressman Kendrick Meek, Democrat of Florida, we appreciate you being with us. Good luck with the campaign next week.
Thank you so very much for having me on.